Hello YouTube, Chris again from Top Notch Sports. Today I want to analyze the Brooklyn Nets. There's a lot of discrepancy on where they rank in the Eastern Conference. Some people think that they're going to be a low playoff seed for some reason. To me that's blasphemous. But other people think they'll be a top seed but they won't advance in the playoffs. Here's my take on it. Okay, so the Nets last year were the 4 seed. They, I believe, were second in the Atlantic Division. So they were already a pretty good team. What did they mainly lack that held them back in the playoffs? They lacked a leader. I think Deron Williams is a terrific point guard. Joe Johnson's a great scorer. He's very clutch. Brook Lopez, up-and-coming young center. That's for sure. So they did have the bones, like as Kevin Garnett says, were there and are there. But the thing is that they were lacking was leadership. Now they have it. So the big thing that was going to push them over the edge last year was leadership, and everyone knew that. But now, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, who are two of the best leaders in this game, come and there's still discrepancy. To me, that doesn't make sense. But anyway, I think that they're a championship contender. And I'm going to look at all the aspects that they do have and why they're going to be, you know, in the running to make the NBA Finals and possibly win. Okay. So again, a leader, they have 2 of them, 2 of the best in the league. You guys know that. A star, I don't know if anyone necessarily is a bona fide star or superstar. I think, you know, their stars are a little bit past their prime, but they're still great veteran players. Williams is a star, and I'm going to say Lopez is soon to be a star. He played terrific in the playoffs against a tough Bulls front line as well. Depth, I'm going to say they have plenty of depth. They have 2 deep. They're 2 deep at every position, if not more. I mean, there's some spots they even have 3 players to fill. So depth is not an issue. Another thing that I think a lot of teams don't have, Miami actually won without one, is a front line. I certainly think they have a front line. You got KG, still terrific front line player. You got Lopez, up-and-coming, great young center. You got guys like Evans who could rebound off the bench. Blatch, better rebounder than people give him credit for, but he's mainly a scorer, and he could definitely do that. He's basically a 6-man, big man type. So okay, so they have that. Another thing that they had last year, I think they were decent, but they weren't top tier. They weren't a juggernaut in the league. Was defense. I thought they were an okay defensive team, but now I think they're going to be great. You got 2 7-footers protecting the rim. You got a guy like Kevin Garnett who preaches defense and changes the whole complexity of a team's defense. So I think they're going to be a much better defensive team, if not top tier in the conference, if not maybe even in the league. I think they're going to be right up there defensively with the team, maybe a little below the Bulls and the Pacers. I think they're going to be in that league. I really do. Kevin Garnett is a culture changer. But we'll see how that works out. Chemistry is a big question surrounding this team. I personally think the chemistry is going to work. You got Deron Williams, who's going to pass the ball. You got Joe Johnson, who's known as a scorer, but he can pass. Paul Pierce, we know, is very unselfish. Kevin Garnett's a terrific passer, and Brook Lopez is no ball hog. He's not known as a great passer, but he could pass. They're all unselfish. All the guys that come off the bench are not selfish players. They're all willing to pass. So I think chemistry. Who knows? Maybe all those guys need touches and it won't work, kind of like the Lakers. But I don't see any volume chuckers. I don't see any selfish passers, kind of like Rajon Rondo on the Celtics, believe it or not. I don't think Deron Williams falls into that category. So I'm going to say that works out. I think the chemistry works out, but I'm not sure. Now, here's one of the biggest questions, is the coach. I personally think that the coach is an overrated part of basketball. I think that you could have a decent coach and win the NBA Finals. I think Miami Heat proved that. I think Spoelstra, if I had to rate him out of 10, I'd give him like a 6 or a 7. I think he's a decent coach. I don't think he's a Greg Popovich, and that's the man he beat. Greg Popovich made mistakes. So overall, it's the players. I think you have to have a good coach. But you know what? If you want to question Jason Kidd, that's fine, due to his lack of experience. But I don't think it's fair necessarily to question his ability to possibly be a coach. He's been a coach on the floor ever since he entered the league. He's a great leader. Point guards usually end up to be terrific coaches. He's going to make Deron Williams more of a leader. He's starting out with 2 excellent leaders to make his job easier. He's got a deep team. He's got a veteran-savvy team. I think it works out. I can understand why there's some doubt and people might scrutinize this, but I think it's going to work out for Jason Kidd. Okay. Now, one thing that I think is very important in the NBA is scoring depth. See, Miami, the difference, like Cleveland, I think the Cleveland teams were better than people gave them credit for, but their scoring depth in terms of guys that can maybe take over a game outside of LeBron James is kind of slim. As opposed to the Brooklyn Nets, where you got 5 guys that can take over games and have been #1 options on their basketball teams. Look at the Miami Heat. Their #4 option was Ray Allen. Not a lot of teams have Ray Allen as their 4th option. This team has Joe Johnson as their 5th option. And some people say, oh, no, Joe Johnson's going to be, okay, so you flip it. You put Paul Pierce as the #5 option. That's really deep scoring. And Jason Terry came up big for the Celtics in the playoffs. He's like their #3 option. And he's the #6 option. He's their 6th man. He was huge in the Mavericks' success a few years ago when they won the championship. So I think, that's good scoring depth. 2 guys I expect, that people started to write off last year that I think will bounce back are Jason Terry and Joe Johnson. They're going to be able to play off the ball a little bit more, even though Terry, I understand he does play off the ball, but he's going to get more open looks due to other guys that can score, due to a great front line and they could kick the ball out to him. Joe Johnson, same thing. I think he's also going to have more scoring opportunities. He might not go ISO Joe as much, that's for sure, but he's going to have a lot more opportunities, to play off the ball and get easier shots. I expect a big year for Brook Lopez. I think he's going to benefit from Kevin Garnett being on his team. I think he's certainly going to be a better defensive player and a rebounder. I mean, his offense is always there, but those aspects are certainly going to improve with a guy like Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett has a terrific impact on his young players. He aids in player development. Another thing is people are questioning Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett being old. Yes, I understand they're old. They're both 35 plus. I completely get that. They played a lot of minutes these last several years, but they're not going to have to play big minutes here. They're going to be more glorified complementary pieces, if that makes sense. They're still in the playoffs. They're going to take over. They're great playoff basketball players. We always see that from them, but they're going to be more fresh coming into it. Paul Pierce looked like he might have been a little beat up last year. He might have had too much wear and tear on his body. Kevin Garnett, we know, had inflammation in his ankle. So we know that was a factor. They're going to be more fresh for the playoffs this season. So I don't think age is going to be a huge factor now. And one big thing with beating Miami, because everyone wants to see, how do we stack up against Miami, which is fair. They're back-to-back champions. I think they stack up great against the Miami Heat. They have 2 great frontline players. The biggest thing with Miami is the people that have given them trouble have had front lines, the Pacers and the Bulls. Those are the teams that give them pressure, both on the offensive end of the floor, they beat them down, and the defensive end of the floor, and they out-rebound them. You got Kevin Garnett, you got Brook Lopez. They're both 7-footers. They both, KG could play defense. Brook Lopez will also improve, defense rebounding. They're both going to score. They're both going to give them issues. So therefore they do stack up against Miami. And you got Darren Williams, who could, they don't have a point guard to match up with them. They don't have, in terms of scoring. Mario Chalmers isn't going to put up 20 and 10 anytime soon, as opposed to Darren Williams, who could put up 20 and 10 anytime, or he could take over scoring, could take over passing. So that's another matchup thing. And they have the perimeter players to match up scoring in Johnson and Pierce with LeBron and Wade. So if you look at it, there's no reason to doubt the Nets. Everything I went through, I think, would show that the Nets are a true contender. And I think they have an excellent shot at winning the Eastern Conference. I think they're a championship contending team, and that's why I think why. Thank you for coming and watching this video. Please comment, rate, subscribe. I'm open to criticism. Thanks for watching.